Hi team. Today I'm just doing a quick, solo podcast. Just to, share with the world the effects of psilocybin has had on me after my first trip. So, just a little bit of background. I've been dealing with depression and anxiety for around about 14 years now. Gone through most of the medication. Currently on Voxitine. Yep, I'm currently on that prescription, and I had taken it on the day of the trip. So I don't think they affected each other. Maybe they did. I'm not sure. I'm not a scientist. But I'm just here to share with everyone my trip. I also suffer from some kinds of ADHD, attention deficit disorder. I wouldn't say suffer, actually. Deal with it. I don't think it's a handicap. Special power sometimes. Okay, so I've done a handful of research as in reading articles, watching TED Talks, and being on YouTube. Nothing too scientific, since the study of psilocybin is still kind of a taboo, and the substance is classified as quite illegal, even though you can just walk out into the bush and pick it and eat it. Okay, so I acquired myself some golden teachers, and I took about 4.5 grams of it. This was considered normal to high dose by the dosage calculator. If you want to use the dosage calculator, just Google it. There's quite a few online. That's exactly what I did. Okay, so during the trip, my goal was to have a self-reflection and maybe improve my art. So that's why I did it. And I've read quite a few articles saying that it would help with depression and anxiety, and being a long-term sufferer, I said, why the hell not? There are some risks for taking psilocybin. If you are in a bad mood at the time, I've been told you can go straight to hell. But I was quite neutral on the day, and I made sure there was nothing really bad on my mind. Also, with the trip, I used headphones and a haptic feedback belt. It was just something that I felt like I wanted to use. Don't have to. Just playing some music on the speakers, I would think, is highly recommended. Calming music. I'll tell you why a little later in this. So, let's start. So, in my notes, I started the trip around 1:53. 1:40. That's when I consumed it. Nothing really happened until 40 minutes later. Or actually, almost an hour later. At 2:37, that is when I decided, when the mushrooms decided this is now a trip. Didn't really feel anything until then. This is my first dose, so maybe next dose would be happen a lot quicker. But let's how I knew I was tripping all it was affecting me was I was starting to feel my body a bit more. Slight discomfort, I would say, and tipsy feeling for those who've ever drunken before. Then my vision started to go in and out of focus. And then I noticed that the walls were pulsating. Nothing like a full-on, what do we call it? Like a full-on apparition, vision. Nothing materialized in front of me. Let's say nothing materialized in front of me for the whole trip, so it's not like my vision's getting tricked. It's... Okay, how I knew I was tripping was because I couldn't focus on anything. And then when I closed my eyes, I could basically imagine anything I wanted, and it would be there quite vividly. And in rainbows. Holy moly, the rainbows. Everything was super colorful. So, when I had my eyes open, my perspective kept shifting in and out of focus. I would imagine this could be a motion sickness trigger for a lot of people. I used to suffer from motion sickness, but ever since I got a VR headset, I kind of kicked that one out the door. However, yeah, if you easily get motion sickness, put like a blindfold on or something, because the perspective shifting is quite, it'll give you vertigo. It just feels like you're rocking on a boat. At the same time, all the walls are pulsating and breathing with you. So then I shut my eyes. In this state, when my eyes were closed, So when I shut my eyes, the way I saw myself was like you're trying to sleep, but you're full of energy. So you start imagining things. I'm sure people with anxiety experience this literally every single night, because you're always overthinking. So, but when you do that, you can only imagine things in your head, but never really see it as like a vision. However, with psilocybin, anything I imagined in my head, I could see it as a vision with my eyes closed. And it was very vivid. Like, details and everything. It was like it was right there. And it was very colorful. I did have the blinds closed, but I had some sun shining through, and that played like that had an effect, as in everything was colorful but also pastel, and when I tilted my head towards the shade, the colors would become less pastel and more vivid, less saturated, and so on. And I enjoyed actually going between the sunlight and the shadow, which it's just everything was moving. Everything was moving, everything was colorful. So that's some of the imaging that I got. I opened my eyes periodically just to have a look around, see if I would see anything materialize in front of me. And at the same thing, nope, nothing materialized. It was all visions when I closed my eyes. Nothing that's non-existent would materialize in front of me. So, okay, just keep my eyes closed. The music I was playing at the time was just a playlist of lo-fi music, nothing with really words in it, so no vocals, which meant I didn't get led astray by someone in the vocals saying any words that might make me want to think another thing. The music really did help direct where the trip went. When the music changed from energetic to somber, I would be able to... Okay, when the music was very joyful and playful, I was literally an anime character running through fields and discovering things in my head, and I was closing my eyes and everything, and I was experiencing pretty much like a Studio Ghibli movie at the beginning when everything was happy and new, and that brought like a lot of genuine feelings of joy. I couldn't stop myself from giggling and laughing whenever I was running through a field, looking at some flowers, patting a dog, whatever. All this is in my head, but it felt like a memory. Everything doesn't feel real, but everything felt like a memory, and I'm reminiscing on it very vividly. And my body, it would feel like it was doing these actions even though I knew I physically wasn't moving. I could feel mentally, I could feel like gusts of wind, I could feel the grass on my feet, I could feel the sun shining. That's probably the light coming through the blinds. And then when music turned to a bit more somber tones, like relaxing music, I would be able to open my eyes for a few minutes and start scribbling down some notes, because I would be able to get this extreme, in-depth focus. Like, I would be able to look into myself and analyze everything, but not in a stressful way as I normally would because of anxiety, but as third person. So it is true what they say, that your ego disappears. Like, you don't look at things as you would normally look at it. You look at things, for me, I looked at things through like a really intelligent child's eyes. Everything was new, everything was exciting, everything was joyful. I kept getting overwhelmed with feelings of joy and gratefulness. I laughed for, at least I would say, I felt like maybe an hour or so. I laughed so much it brought tears to my eyes. But through all this, I kind of knew I was in control. I knew if I thought of something bad, I would be able to go there. And I think that's one of the best things about psilocybin, is if you want to deal with something, you can deal with it in a third person kind of state. Instead of it being all personal, it's like it happened to me and everything. This is you looking at it as like a movie, and you can analyze it very deeply to your understanding. And what I mean by your understanding is, when I was on this trip, it felt like I was in the smartest state that I was ever in. As in, I could understand things that to me before were just pretty pictures or a good movie or a good song. That's what I kept recalling. All these, well, I'm an avid anime fan, by the way, guys. All these animes that I watched, they would replay in my head, and I gained new meaning from them. I could project myself into the character's shoes and feel those emotions, but at the same time understand it and not feel bad for it, because I knew it wasn't me. Now, I would go to all these arts. In my mind, there was a huge gallery that I could flick through all this art and stare at it and understand it like I could understand what the painter was trying to portray, or what I thought the painter was trying to portray at the time. And I would understand it and feel it. And at the same time, this art would not look, it would be very familiar. It would look like what I knew it looked like. But it would be also very colorful, pulsating, moving. Just completely different from what it is in real life. But these were all just memories of things that I saw like ages ago, like maybe years ago. That I saw in an art gallery one time. It just brought it up, and I thought about it, and I knew about it, and I experienced it in a whole new way. Throughout this entire trip, I kept thinking, Jesus, I have to share this with everyone. Like, everyone should experience this once at least, and just know what it's like. Yes. Whew. It was a very artistic trip, I would say. I'd say super artistic. I have so many ideas. I just wanted to put it onto paper and start drawing or whatever. Haven't got around to that though. It's been a day. I should probably do it before it completely leaves my mind. But that was only the start. So, after my giant art trip and being in the shoes of like all these anime protagonists and everything, the sun went down. So the trip moved to a different area. It was more like inner. It went inner. Started thinking about like how I saw the world and what I'm thinking and so on. And then I got the sudden urge to just dance. So I did. I was like, screw it. In my room. So, nice safe place. There's not too much I can hurt myself on, but I was conscious of that. So I moved things out of the way. I'm not like completely out of control and unable to do things. I've even took like 2 toilet breaks during the trip. Yes, everything was kind of moving inwards and outwards, but I was able to, go to the toilet and take a piss. Then I came back and decided to dance. Just moved with the music. Felt like I could feel each note. Felt like I could predict what was going to happen next. Yes, music is repetition, so I didn't predict it. I just knew vividly, very vividly, what notes were going to play next, because it was already in my memory. And then all these philosophical sayings that people said in the past, like Bob Ross's, there are no mistakes, just happy accidents. Everything just started clicking, and had so many aha moments. And every time I had an aha moment, I would burst out in like laughter and joy. And it's like, oh, I get this. I get what they were thinking. I guess you could say I felt like I was connected to the person who said the saying, because I got them physically, mentally, and visually. It was almost like an echo. So things that I would do physically with my eyes closed, it all felt like an echo when I was moving around and dancing. The feeling of dancing, you could feel it instantly, right? Even when you're drunk. However, it felt like my body was moving, then all the sensations were just kind of lagging behind and following it. And it felt like I was being led by a very excited child into this dance with myself. And music and everything was so colorful, even though all the lights were out. It was very dark. But yes, I did that for like an hour or so. And genuine feelings of joy and happiness came through throughout the whole experience. I would say this was like what you call a good trip, which did make me wonder what a bad trip was like in the middle of this trip. So then, little glimpses of horror, like what you would consider horror, like skeletons, zombies, ghosts, or whatever. I'm like kind of into that shit, so it doesn't scare me. But like little glimpses of it in my head, and when I kind of opened and shuttered my eyes, would appear. But I didn't fight that. I just accepted it. So those glimpses would always turn into that thing smiling and having fun with me as well when my eyes were shut. It was never really bad. But I can imagine how it could be bad. Like, if you were really afraid of something, or if you had something really abusive, and instead of separating yourself from that, and knowing that everything's okay, everything's good, everything's like a joke and fun to you, you could make what you fear very real and relive it in another way. So I would say it could be dangerous, and I can see how a bad trip would come through. What I kept replaying in my head were like all these Disney and Ghibli movies, and just me realizing that, damn, those guys had imagination, but I'm pretty sure they were influenced by a trip. Because how does like a 50-year-old have the mindset of a child and all that imagination? I mean, damn, man. I'm pretty sure these guys are like tripping on acid all the time. 70-year-old taking some acid, doing some shrooms. But yes, it honestly genuinely felt like all the greatest artists in the world were connected with me, and I knew they all were tripping at some point of their life. So after, let's see, when did my trip end? My trip ended at 6:50 p.m. Yes, 6:50 p.m. I felt like I could have kept going, but there's this overwhelming urge to share this trip, which made me want to stop going. Alright, another little deep-seated thing is like, I realized why I always wanted to be female. I don't consider myself trans, but I always wanted to be a female, for as far as I can remember. And this trip near the end just told me, you want to be a female because you want to be liked, because that is your ideal aesthetic, is a pretty girl. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Now I know why I want to be liked. I guess this would be same for a lot of people. They want to be liked. So, yeah. And that trip did let me put myself in the body of a girl. Like, I was animation, of course, because that's where my mind was at, but it was a short-haired girl with a yellow summer dress walking through the fields for a large part of that trip. I was that girl that I wanted to be, and I was able to do it, which was quite a good feeling. Okay, so what this trip let me open my eyes to at the end was I I don't know if my depression and anxiety still exists. It really didn't feel like that was a factor at all during the trip. And feel quite normal, actually. What I think a normal person would feel. I wouldn't say I'm cured, but I would say, as for the moment, this feeling lasts, I'm good. Good to go, guys. Yes, I do recommend this. Even with the risk of going to hell. I can see how that could happen. So if you have a trip sitter, please acquire one. If you don't, and you have a history of, bad thoughts and so on, I took the risk because I guess I wanted to help people, and I wanted to know how it felt like. So I can't help people if I don't know what it does, right? Oh man. I am a grower. I haven't grown enough to give everyone I know with depression and anxiety a dose or offer them a dose. So I think, even though it's against the law, I want to help people have access to this in the future. I'm not going to make money out of them, just give it to them. Because it's an experience. I think this is the best I could describe it. It's very self-reflective, and you discover so many things and realize so many other things. You could, if I wanted to, I should probably take this another dose at some time without the music, without any other stimulants, just pure silence and darkness, and see where my head takes me. But for a good trip, I do think you need very joyful and playful music, because that will steer you in that direction. And it did for me. And it was a great experience. So yeah, if anyone wants to talk about this on Soma or whatnot, I would be very happy to do so. But until then, I think I'm gonna keep at it, keep doing what research I can, see if I could help other people, and go on from there, guys. Take everything I said with a grain of salt, because this is my experience and other people can have completely different experiences. But I do wish that everyone would have the same experience as I had and have a very joyful and genuinely good journey from this thing that's currently super illegal in this country, because pharmaceutical companies can't put a patent on it because it's natural. Yay, capitalism! Alright, guys. I'll talk to you later.